appreciate y'all being here. I am excited for us to get to this conversation with one of my favorite people, Mitch Schuckman, my former partner at PwC, one of the best proposal coaches I've ever had, and just someone whose style in going to market I have tried to emulate and I appreciate. Um, Mitch is the definition of telling it like it is, but with kindness, and a good dose of humility. So I'm not going to try to encapsulate Mitch in an intro. I'm going to turn it over to him for that. Before we dive in, if we have visitors from other divisions, I would love to recognize you. So if you would drop your division number, and maybe even the name in the chat, love to welcome our friends from across APA, and are just really glad that you were able to join us. So thank you to all who have joined, and we look forward to a great session. So with that, I don't want to take any more time away from Mitch. Let me turn it over. Mitch, you're on.
Thanks, Liz. You're one of my favorite people too. So let me introduce myself and let me turn these slides on. By the way, just here's what we're going to do on slides. I've got a couple of slides and then I'm ditching the slides because I feel like a conversation is a lot better than staring at a screen with slides. So I've got a lot to have a conversation about, and we'll get into it right away. Just one point of information. So here's my current plan, but I'm totally flexible. So I was going to go for the first like 30-ish minutes talking about my go to market, business development for your own practice and all of that. Then I was going to save some time for Q&A, and then I was going to save some time for breakouts. Lorenzo has agreed to monitor the chat kind of later in the session because we can go longer on Q&A and less of the breakouts if you want to keep speaking with me, or we can do breakouts and I'll just jump into one of the breakouts. So it'll be an informal survey through the chat during the course of the session. Okay? Okay, here's my few slides. Uh-oh. It says host disabled participant screen from sharing. That's Lorenzo's fault, which is totally fine because I could totally flex and not use slides.
You should be good now.
All right, I'll try one more time. Let's see here. How do I know which one is the presentation? You haven't seen it pop up on the screen yet, have you?
No.
Excellent. Okay, good. We're going to quickly not worry about it. That's a shame, but whatever. Okay, so who's Mitchell Schuckman? Liz mentioned that I am a partner at PwC, but not for more than another 8 weeks. So I started my career. So I have an interesting mix of experiences. I'm going to share that mix with you because I feel like it makes the conversation today a little bit more relevant. Okay. So I'm a CPA, I'm an accountant, and I started my career at PwC doing taxes. And I did taxes and only taxes for 25 years. But one of the things I did really well when I did taxes is I was really good at bringing in new clients. I was like really good at that. And because of circumstances and because of my request, I was going through a mid-career crisis. I ended up shifting my focus, and the firm let me shift from being a tax partner doing client service to leading our proposal team across all of tax. So over the course of my career, I've coached well over 1,000 competitive proposals, but more importantly, helped people learn how to tell their own story in the market and how to understand the client or the buyer, or the potential buyer, and kind of what they were thinking and what was driving them. So I've done that for well over a decade, worked on literally well over 1,000 proposals, coached thousands of people on this. And about 5 years ago, I kind of realized that while I love coaching proposals, what I love even more is when partners or professionals would call me up after the proposal and say, "Hey, Mitch, you really helped us. And would you be willing to coach me one-on-one?" So I ended up going back to school. I got my professional coaching certification from ICF. And I reached my mandatory retirement date from the firm in just a few short weeks because PwC and all the big four partners retire at a specific date. At PwC, it's when you turn 60. So I've reached my mandatory retirement date, June 30th, which is the end of the fiscal year, is my last day. And I'll be launching the Schuckman Group, which is an executive coaching, leadership development, and sales consulting, business development consulting practice. So that's where I'm coming from. So my beautiful slides, which I am epically failing at launching, are good. That I'm epically failing at launching. My beautiful slides talked about a three-dimensional view of how to go to market with your own consulting practice. And honestly, Liz had sent me a lot of your questions, and I think I'm going to cover a lot of them. But like I said, we'll have time for Q&A at the end. But I was thinking about all of the people I've coached, especially entrepreneurs, especially people who are starting their own coaching business. This comes up all the time. The three dimensions I came up with is marketing, selling, and what I call everyday selling, or everyday positioning yourself, everyday branding. That's what I called it, everyday branding. So those are the three areas that when I speak to people starting their own business, and especially people in your field, like, you guys love what you do. You guys love helping people. If you could just help people without having to sell all of that, it would be so much better. But it's not that easy. It just doesn't work that way. So those are the three areas I'm going to touch on. Marketing, because a lot of us don't like marketing. Selling, because a lot of people just, their stereotype of a salesperson is someone who's in a car showroom. And everyday branding is really hard because people don't like talking about themselves and work so much. So those are the three broad areas I'm going to cover. And please make note of your questions. Lots of time for questions. Okay. So area one, I called it authentic marketing. And what do I mean by that? Okay, so a lot of you, I'm guessing, see people on LinkedIn and on Instagram and sending out newsletters. And I'm sure there are a lot of you who are like, that is not me. It's not me. I don't want to be on social media, selling my wares. It's unbecoming of a professional, some of us would say. Couple things. First of all, here's the way I view marketing for people in our profession. You're kind of marketing to your network through a voice to the world. And what do I mean by that? Like, I've got a network of people that I know, friends, family, colleagues, former colleagues, Liz. I've got a whole bunch of people in this world who I know. And how do I get them to know that I'm legitimately in business? And the way to do that is kind of marketing to the world, but you're really marketing to your network. So, because ultimately most of the work you're going to get, I really believe this is true, is through maybe 2 degrees of separation from someone you know personally. So this marketing is not like, don't view it as, I'm going on Instagram so some random person could look at me versus 1 million other psychologists and hire me. Like, it's not going to work that way. You're telling your friends and your family and your network that you're legit. So that's the way I would view it. And please, if you're going to do it, find your own voice. So I'm going to do a quick PR move for my friend Maura Walters, who joined the call. Oh, Maura, you flashed your screen. There you go. So Maura Walters joined the call.
Slides.
So I thought you could share your screen. I can't share mine. How's that? So
okay.
So Maura has her own marketing and branding firm, and I found her randomly through my wife, who saw her on Facebook and said, "She looks like she's got her act together. Call her." And so I called Maura and I said, "I do not want, I'm launching my own business July 1, retiring from my corporate job. I don't want to be one of these people who's sending out like pithy little like mental wellness things. Like I don't want to be that person." And she helped me come up with an approach. I said, "Here's what I want to be. Because I have 38 years of experience, because I've worked in professional services, because I've run a business, because I know how to sell, because I've coached a lot of people, I have perspectives and observations. I don't want to preach. I don't want to teach. I want to share observations with the world." And that's kind of what Maura helped me do. And we did it together on LinkedIn. Maura, you're sharing your screen. Oh, look at you. How'd you do that? That's my slides. Okay, click down a couple, Maura.
I'm here for you. Oh, yeah.
That's pretty impressive. Go down a couple slides. Oh, that's a famous quote. Go back to the famous quote.
Trying.
That's a famous quote by me. If you're authentic, you care, and you love what you do, selling takes care of itself. Everyone on this call should feel that. All right, next slide. That's about me. We can forget that. You already know who I am. These are the three lenses we're covering: authentic marketing, which we're covering now, client-centered selling, which we're covering next, and everyday branding, which is the third thing I'll cover. Okay, now you can make the slides disappear.
Okay.
Okay, so Maura helped me find my voice. So Maura and I spoke about what I just said. And if you look at me on LinkedIn or on Instagram under the Schuckman group, you'll see that what I'm trying to do is share with people my observations of the types of people I want to be coaching when I start my own business. And we're going to be soon launching a newsletter. We're going to be soon. I'm actually wrote a book, which will be published in July when I start my own business. It's all about letting people know you're out there without being salesy and without being something you're not comfortable being. You don't want a photo of yourself on it? Don't put a photo of yourself. I'm a photographer. Every photo on that thing is like my photos. It's me. It's all about me. So that's the way I'd want you to approach marketing. Two other points, and then I'll move on to the next thing. Consistency is better than perfection. I'd rather you post something online every week, once, or even once a month. I'd rather you do that than like throw something out there randomly from time to time. Consistency helps people know you're consistently in business. This is consistently something, you're consistently out there in the world. That's thing one. One other thing, I really believe in appearing professional. And that's why I hired Maura, because she does social media and makes it look professional. I don't. And honestly, none of us want to look like our teenagers or our nieces and nephews who are like posting like silly things on social media. We don't want to look that way. And to be honest, my feeling is the more professional you put yourself out there as, little things like don't go into ChatGPT and say, "Hey, I want to send out a post about stress in the workplace." It's going to like write some random mediocre stuff. Now, you want to use ChatGPT to write up a first draft. You want to give it some commentary that makes it more sound like you, by all means. But whatever you do, read it, make it sound like you, be consistent, and make it look professional. So I'm going to pause for a second, take a breath, because that's kind of my tidbits on authentic marketing. There's a lot more we could discuss, but that's okay. We're covering a few things today. We're going to go to Q&A and we can continue the dialogue down the road. Okay? Okay, so number two, second area. I called it client-centric selling. Okay, this is really my strike zone. because this is where I've spent a good chunk of my career, is selling. Just a point of interest, you guys will love this because of all of your backgrounds. So when I decided to go into be a sales coach instead of a client service tax person, I actually hired a forensic psychologist to coach me on how to be a good coach. And one of the things that she spent a year, I spent a year with her every week. We met once a week for a year. And she was teaching me like profiling. So, and she, I kind of, I'm probably like a lot of you, just guessing. I have a pretty good knack for putting myself in the other person's shoes and kind of understanding where they're at as human beings. And she helped me she said, look, I do jury selection and crime scene analysis and, crisis management, like understanding the two sides to a situation is critically important. And that's one of the things that she kind of helped refine my skills at. Anyway, why am I telling you this? Because selling is all about that. Selling is real. What we all tend to do is we all tend to feel like we have to certify ourselves. We have to talk about our skills. We have to talk about our qualifications. Selling is all about the other person. I assume you guys kind of know that. And so I don't view selling as selling. I view selling as having a conversation. So if you can find out, once you're out there in the market and once you start hearing from people, what I love to do is sell to the client's needs. So if you're selling to a CEO and you're doing it, the person reaches out to you and says, I want a coach, or the person or any kind of counseling, or the person says to you, I'm having a crisis in my job, or I'm starting up my business and I'm concerned about it. Ask them questions about them. The more you know about them, the more you can send your proposal directly to what they need. Okay. Same with the corporate buyer. So they're corporate buyers looking to buy your services for a group of executives, for example, or a team that needs, the individuals need coaching or the team needs coaching. Find out as much as you can about the issues. Tell me what's going on. Tell me how it's affecting the business. Tell me how it's affecting you. Why am I asking you this? Because I want to send you a proposal that exactly meets your needs, that demonstrates the value to you and to your organization. So, sure, during the conversation, you're going to have to mention you're qualified. You're going to have to mention that you have other clients, you have this many years of experience, or you're starting your own business after doing this for so many years. Of course, but that's not what's going to sell. What's going to sell is explaining to the buyer exactly how you're going to make them successful. That's the huge differentiator, and that's how you're going to seal the deal. After you speak to the person and you need to send them a proposal, make sure that the proposal does not need to be long. It certainly shouldn't it shouldn't say all about me or why me. It should be short. It should look very professional. Again, Maura helps me with mine, but very professional. And it really should start with, these are the issues I understand you're faced with. This is how I can help you experience value. Okay. So I feel like that's my comment on proposals. The other thing I'm going to touch on, but just touch on, because everyone struggles with this, is pricing. I'm just going to make a few comments on pricing that I think will be helpful, because I think this is something people struggle with all the time. This is my point of view, just one person's point of view. I have to come back on one other thing, but let me cover pricing first. Know your walkaway number. Literally know the number that you will be happy not having the client. Not don't even think about what I think I want or what I think I deserve. It's what is the number that if I get it at this price, I don't want it. Okay, once you know that number, that's your floor. That means $1 above that, you'll be happy. Maybe not ultimate happy, but you'll be happy because you're getting something that you want, you would be willing to work for. That's your floor. Then this is what I like to do. I like to think about, what do I think the buyer has the stomach to pay? What do I think they have the stomach to pay? If it's above my floor, I've got room to discuss. Okay? If it's below my floor, it's not going to be a client. And what never really enters my mind is, what do I wish I would get? Because that's not actually relevant if you think about the parameters I just mentioned. What I wish I get is something I daydream about when I'm walking my dogs. What the client is willing to stomach paying is my best guess at my starting point, as long as it's above my floor. And that's usually the number I go with. And I can have different fees for different people. So for example, Liz mentioned I'm retiring from PwC. You can imagine there are a lot of PwC partners who are calling me. There are a lot of people who are not partner who wish they would be partner one day who are calling me. There are also people in the chairmans, the leadership team, who are calling me. Guess what? They're all getting different fees. I don't care. And I don't care if they talk to each other. I think they're at different levels. I think they have different issues. I think they have different challenges. And I think they're tapping into different areas of expertise for me. So if I come up with that number and they say, gee, it's too high, or I was thinking about something less, as long as that something less is higher than my floor, that's the number we'll go with. So I don't think pricing has to be uber stressful if you approach it that way. And that's not like a book. That's just me. That's the way I do it. Okay. One other thing I want to mention, and then I'm going to move on to everyday branding. And that is this. There's the famous stat. I know it's true because I found it on the internet. It's got to be true. But it says 80% of sales take between 5 and 12 touch points. 5 and 12. 2% of sales happen on the first try. And that's usually probably someone who knows you, calling you in a crisis, saying, I need your help now. Can we start now? Okay, 2% of the time. Now, here's the key stat. I think it's like 45% of people give up after the first or second try. In my opinion, when you're selling, you've done your marketing, now you got an RFP or someone's reached out to you and you're selling. Now you're selling. That first conversation is not to seal the deal. That first conversation is to get as many points of information as you can, so you can have between 5 and 12 touch points and seal the deal. Now, a touch point could be conversation number 1, followed by a follow-up lovely email reiterating what you heard and how you can help them. It could be followed after that by a proposal. It could be followed after that by an article you saw that is relevant to the person and made you think of them and hope they're okay and wondering if they've made a decision on the help you need. The next one could be another piece of thought leadership. The next one could be, are you ready to have a follow-up conversation? That could take weeks. So if you throw enough irons in the fire by doing marketing, letting everyone know you're out there, starting to field phone calls and starting to have these conversations, you will start having a pipeline of clients. That's the way I do it. That's the way I've seen successful people in small businesses do it. Have a lot of irons in the fire. You're marketing in an authentic way that you're comfortable with. You're selling through conversations about the potential client, and you're off and running. Okay? Area number 3, I'm on time, I'm doing good. The last
You are, but I'm gonna jump in really fast and mess you up, because there's
ahead,
2
Liz.
things you taught me, and what you just
Don't scare me.
went through. What you just went through, 2 things you taught me that I want to highlight. Absolutely on the touch points. Like you turn me into like a little puppy on a pork chop. It's just you bite, 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 and it didn't have to be big. That's the piece that you got across to me that I struggled with because I felt that every touch point had to be this big grand show, and it didn't. It just had to be something little, and it was even better if it had nothing to do with the work.
Yeah.
What to your point about the first meeting, gathering every single piece of information you can. Um, I found out that this was one of the pursuits we had here in Houston. I found out about that our economic buyer um, just loved her dogs. Like her dogs were everything. And we even got into a conversation about the kibble she feeds her dogs. I saw an alert on Google about how this kibble manufacturer had a recall. Sent her a link to that. And meanwhile, other people are looking at me like, you did what? I was like, this is the most important thing in her life are her dogs. And the next thing I know, like she's messaging me more things about her dogs. And Mitch, you were the one who said to me, Liz, when she asked you for your dog walker, that's how you knew you'd won the work. Because if she trusts you to advise her on a dog walker, she's definitely going to let you do her taxes. So it's the little things, and they don't have to be big. And the more you can show you actually care as a person, that was one of the things you really hammered home for all of us, and was one of the hardest things because we're used to showing up and showing off our expertise, not showing up and showing off our humanity. And I'm
Exactly.
speaking as tax people here, but I think it's universal. And then the other one was you taught me about the blood pressure equivalent, the blood pressure factor. So when you're doing your pricing, if you're working with somebody who's going to stress you out, you're not just calculating the amount of time that you're spending serving them, you're adding an extra hour that it will take your blood pressure to return to normal
Yeah.
after you interact with them. And your point to me was if you are only pricing for the mental energy to serve the client in the moment, you're taking time away from your ability to serve other clients. And in fact, if it takes you an hour to get your head back in the game, you actually are only earning half your rate.
Yeah.
So you need to consider client service holistically. It's not just the time that you're spending on whatever the piece of work is, but it's how long it takes your blood pressure to return to normal so you can get back to your life. And if that's taking time from your kids, triple it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm gonna say it cleanly, but there's the fee that the client can stomach, and then there's like the jerk premium that you charge if you were if you're like, I kind well actually what the way it is your floor goes up, right? So in my example, the floor goes up if you have to deal with a jerk. Or even if you suspect you might be dealing with one. Thank you, Liz. I'm glad that you remembered some of the things that we worked on together. Um, but yes, and listen, um, I'm not actually suggesting that you all need to become personal friends with every potential client. The point about that Liz made that we can all follow is this. Showing someone you care about them is selling. Selling isn't selling, especially in our lines of work. Selling is making people feel seen and heard. And whether it's through their dogs or whether it's, I was thinking about you. How you doing? Like people, how many people do that when they're selling work? They don't. How many people see an article or a piece of thought leadership or a LinkedIn post that reminded you of someone and you flip it to them, say, thinking of you. Hope we get to work together one day. Like that, this is the differentiator. So let me move on from selling just in the interest of time. There's one other piece, the third dimension of the three dimensions, which I call everyday branding. This is when you're selling all the time. It never stops. Not when you're an entrepreneur. It never stops. So what do I mean by that? Um, I mean, when people say, how are you doing? How are you doing? Say, I'm doing great. I started my own business, my own coaching business, my own consulting practice. I'm really energized by that. Now, you guys have a huge advantage. I mean, I think I do too, because you guys are psychologists. You guys are helping people. Everyone needs help. even if they're not out in the market for consulting or for your services, every person's a human being. So every person is going to be a little interested in how you're doing. Oh, you're out there helping people? How's it going? And then here's the trick. Now, I'm well aware of confidentiality. I'm well aware that you're not going to talk about, a particular client or a particular patient's facts and circumstances, but have some stories ready to roll. When someone says, "How's business doing?" or "How you doing?" and you say, "My business is really keeping me energized," can I tell you a quick story about how I helped someone last week? Change all the facts, all the names. Mark Twain once said, "Never let facts stand in the way of a good story." Um, Come up with a good, relevant story and tell your story. Tell your story. Because what are you doing? You're actually marketing and selling and credentializing yourself to someone who's going to say, "I've got a friend who can use you." And that's the way it works. So forget, marketing is marketing, selling is selling. Being yourself is being yourself. And don't be scared to talk about cool things you're doing to help clients. And by the way, just remember when you're talking to people, like it's got to be casual and conversational, kind of like you're having a coffee with a friend at a coffee shop. Just like talk to them real and tell them what's going on. And you're helping people, they're going to be interested and they're all going to know someone who's got a client or who needs help and could be a client. Okay, so that's 33 minutes in. I've covered everything at a high level. We're going to take questions. I'm going to say this for the record right now. Any questions that you have for me that you want to email me, I will answer within a week. Mitchell@theschuckmangroup.com. We'll post that in a minute. Actually, why don't you post it, Mark? Can you post it? We didn't even rehearse this, Maura. See, it's always good to have someone on your team. There it was. Oh, you lost it. You had it and you lost it. See, you can click on that. You get my business card. By the way, you know that I didn't come up with this. You click on this, you get your business card. You click on this, you can follow me on Instagram. You can check out my name and follow me on LinkedIn, and you'll get a lot of good ideas on how to position yourselves. But if you send me an email at my business card on the side of the screen, I'll answer your question within the week. Okay? Okay, you could take it down again.